clear about that, and I think on
topics here. I don't know if you saw this the other night. Perhaps you had. This is outside Mitch McConnell's house in Louisville, Kentucky this week.
Just stab the in the heart, please. Murder, turtle! We can't even call white men terrorists. They've been terrorists since the beginning of this country. You a terrorist, Mitch!
Go ahead and react to that.
I mean, this is just, it's disgusting and it's shocking, but I don't think people are surprised to see this. What is surprising is that Mitch McConnell had his Twitter account suspended for posting a video of these people outside of his house, yet Hamas Bills still has their Twitter page, and you have to click and say, I understand that this is a dangerous page to get on before you even go on there.
In the meantime, though, you had some supporters of the president, Joaquin Castro in Texas, called him out. He put their names up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Some apparently supported him and his brother along the way, too, at least a half a dozen as well. There's an outrage factor in this country that you can feel every day. And you just wonder at what point, when does that outrage get an ice pack on it?
Well,
when does it come back down? Are we always just going to be flying right and flying left?
certainly hope not. I mean, we haven't always been in this space. We used to exist in a space where if we had different political views, we could sit down together and we could exist in harmony. And unfortunately, you know, people are, there's so much out there. There's such an effort, whether you're talking about on social media or like you saw the congressman in Texas do, trying to silence conservatives, prevent people from speaking out or supporting this president monetarily. Now, unfortunately for them, we've seen contributions at the RNC and the campaign go up since that list went out. People are outraged by this because where in America do we have space for this? You should be able to support whatever political view you want in this country, and you shouldn't be made to feel badly about it or be put on a hit list like this. This is horrible.
These tech companies are meeting at the White House. What do you think can come out of that?
Well, I certainly hope that they are made aware of the fact that this president is very aware that what they're doing is wrong. What they're doing is silencing conservatives. And we talk about it all the time. And now we're seeing it in practice when it comes to people like Mitch McConnell, like I just said, for example. I hope that
they could also play a role in this debate over red flag laws.
They could.
But I don't know how you define that. You have 17 states that have some form of a red flag law.
Yeah.
How do you know when you can call bluff on a neighbor? Or an ex-boyfriend.
It's a tough thing.
Or an ex-husband.
Because I think the main issue is that people want to remain anonymous. You never want something to come back on you or for someone to sue you because you said maybe there was an issue with them. At the same time, we always hear, Bill, after the fact that there was somebody that saw something or someone that knew something, or they said, I had a feeling this person would do it.
It's a fair point. You just don't know how you define it.
Yeah.
Is the phone call based on politics? Is it based on a personal issue? Or do you have a legitimate concern over the mental health of someone in society?
Yeah, it's a tough question, and I think we're in an unknown space here. Listen, since we've seen so much in these mass murders, really, these mass shootings, the rise in them, we have had the internet, social media, and 24-hour news cycle. Those are all things that have changed. And as such, I think as a society, we have to look at that and figure out the best way forward. I don't know that anyone has a perfect answer, but maybe all these folks can get together, maybe they can talk about it, and maybe we can get some
Let's
solutions.
see if something comes from it. There's a campaign, meanwhile.
Fox News alert, new information coming in this morning about a phone call received by El Paso police weeks before this past weekend's deadly shooting spree. The question now, was it a warning sign from the shooter's mother? Jeff Paul is live in El Paso with the very latest. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Julian, Allen police saying that this wasn't a 911 call or a call for service. It was strictly to get some more information. In fact, the mom of the suspected shooter didn't leave her name, and she didn't leave her son's name. And so the only way that Allen PD were able to confirm that a call like this was made was by going through their security camera footage and listening to their end of the conversation. Now, this call, according to Allen police, made late June, and the mom was calling about her son owning an AK-type rifle. She was concerned over her son's age, maturity level, and experience in owning a gun like this.
She was fearful that he would injure himself with this type of a weapon. So after that, the public servant officer comes around yet again and says, is your son suicidal? Has he made any threats against others? Or has there been any dramatic change in his behavior recently that would cause alarm? And the answer to those apparently was no.
Now, as the memorial behind us continues to grow here outside the Walmart where the shooting was, funerals for the 22 victims who were murdered in this attack continue on today and will continue on through the next week on both sides of the border. Julie.
All right, Jeff Paul, thank you so much.
Newly released records now apparently showing the FBI kept using the Dirty Steele dossier to secure a court warrant repeatedly, despite the documents and the documenting that the former spy's anti-Trump bias was real. Chris Staszak, former assistant AG with the New York State Attorney General's office. Chris, how you doing? And good morning to you from Albany, New York today. What does this tell us now, do you think?
Well, Bill, as you said, this is a bombshell, and it's not a good one. The reason it's not a good one is you know and I know the vast majority of people who work in the FBI are brave public servants, but there are always some bad apples. So what this shows is that there was a political bias underlying the Trump investigation, and even at a point when they knew that the information came ultimately and originally as political opposition research, then they said that they knew it was wrong. But what's coming out today is that they're saying that they knew it was wrong and they kept using it anyway. And that should concern everybody, because that's not how law enforcement's supposed to work, whether you like the person being investigated or not.
Also, it reveals top DOJ official Bruce Ohr maintained contact with Steele for at least 6 months, Chris.
Exactly. And then, you know, the obvious question is, you know, this could be something going on in middle school. If someone says they weren't contacting somebody anymore, then why are they using something like WhatsApp to stay in touch with them for another 6 months? And you have to wonder, what were they talking about and why? And no matter how you look at it, again, it just doesn't look good, because it makes it look like there's using law enforcement for political purposes. And we had that under J. Edgar Hoover, and it was wrong then, and it's even worse now.
Yeah, WhatsApp is an encrypted app where you can send text message, and apparently they're not supposed to be read or by others. But I'm not so sure that's the case based on some of these court matters I watched recently. Lindsey Graham last night, this way.
Well, this is the tip of the iceberg. I know personally there's a lot more out there, and the word that keeps coming up is bias. The people investigating Clinton wanted her to win and Trump to lose. The people who started the investigation against President Trump wanted him to lose and her to win. The chief source of the FISA warrant was Mr. Steele, who hated Trump's guts. So there's a common theme here that the investigation of Trump was very biased.
I know you agree with that, but if he's talking about the tip of the iceberg, what's underneath the water, Chris?
Well, if Lindsey Graham is coming on Fox News and saying he knows there's a lot more, and he's saying that publicly, I'm sure there's much more. And I think if I had to speculate, what I think is there's probably even more damaging information in terms of the motivation underlying as bad as what is out now. It's probably worse in terms of what they were saying about Trump and what measures they were willing to take.
So what do you think we find out then, Chris?
Well, I think, based on what we already know, if I had to speculate, I think there is information that will come out based on what's been discussed today that even further illustrates that the people investigating Trump did have a bias. And again, whether you like Trump or not, any American, you should not want to be investigated by law enforcement for political reasons.